So can I introduce Rosa and Phil Hughes, who they provide thermography scanning up in Liverpool, and they've got great hearts to help people, wonderful hearts, and everyone that I know has a really good word for you. And you know, you've gone through a lot. You have your own testimony, don't you, Rosa?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're sharing that as well tonight, maybe. And also, you actually produced your own film with your massive amount of research into mammography, and you got top oncologists on board that agreed with you and said, how can this be? Even Sweden and Switzerland have banned it. And you think this is still being used in our system. And it's like, it's horse and cart technology. So anyway, I won't go into all that. I think you can tell them better about all those sort of things than I. So, yeah, do you want to take it from here?
We thought we were quite organised. We had to get our projector back. Can't get it working. We're going to show you a clip of the film. We have a film called The Promise. I'll show you what it looks like. We won an award for it, the International Film Festival for World Cinema, and we got the Best Scientific and Education Award for this film. And it's the truth about routine breast screening. And basically, routine breast screening was introduced in 1987 by Margaret Thatcher, and it was a political move to get women's votes. Before that time, women would only go to the breast clinic if they had a breast problem. But we started doing it thinking it was the best thing since sliced bread in 1987. And it was set up by a guy called Professor Mike Barn, who was an eminent breast surgeon at the time. And so what they started to do was invite healthy women over 50, because they couldn't be seen to be radiating younger women's breasts. And also mammography can't see very much in young women's breasts because they have breast density. Their breasts are quite lumpy. So they started doing it, but quite early into the programme they realised that actually it was having no effect on breast cancer mortality rates. So Professor Michael Barn in 1997 called a meeting of everybody on the panel and said basically it's not what it's cracked up to be, because all we're doing is turning healthy women into cancer patients. Because he said what was happening, they were finding these little stage 1, stage 2 encapsulated lumps in women's breasts, these little areas of calcification that women would have lived with and not died of if they'd been left alone. And at the time as well, there was things going on, as in surgeons having to do 30 plus operations a year to keep their consultancy. So there was no incentive not to operate on women. So what's actually happened is over the last 30 years, what we're finding now, a lot of the research through Professor Peter Gotch at the Cochrane Centre in Denmark, all these people in our film, and what they're up to now is over 53% of women who've been treated for breast cancer worldwide should never have been treated. And many of them have gone through lots of invasive treatment, many of them have died. Many of them have lost breasts, and it's been totally unnecessary. So in 2013, Switzerland were the first country to take the step to stop using mammography for routine breast screening. Now we got into this, because Phil, my husband, I'm very lucky to be married to Phil. He's been at Homeopath for over 20 years, and before what we do now, I was in finance and doing various things that actually weren't very good for me. And I developed quite a large tumour in his left breast, and that was in 2006. And luckily, Phil had already had seen quite a lot of women with breast cancer, had them treated, and he'd done quite a lot of research on things like mammography, this overdiagnosis thing that was starting to come to light. And I actually didn't say much about it for 2 years. I kind of carried on with this thing, this stone that was getting bigger and bigger in front of my chest. And it was October 2006, and it was when I lay down on the bed, it just stuck out of my chest, and it was like solid and like stuck to the wall of my chest. And I was kind of in a lot of stress at the time. There was a lot of things I think that contributed to me developing that tumour. I better go back. Born with a hole in my heart, so I had a heart operation when I was like 6, so they cut through the lymphs under my arm so I don't sweat under there. Then I always wore a lot of underwire bras, so of course lymphs were getting trapped. I like to drink a lot of wine, so I was quite acidic. I never drank enough water. When I had my first baby, I got really bad mastitis, and that was in the left breast as well. So I had a bang on the door onto that left breast. That breast had an awful lot of trauma, and also emotionally, left breast is all to do with worries and concerns with family, females, and I'd always had a problem with sisters and my mum that I've since reconciled. So this tumour just got bigger and bigger, and basically Phil said I had to do something about it, because I was putting my head in the sand. I didn't really know what to do. But he was unsure of me going to the hospital, because basically he knew the dangers of biopsying tumours, and because it was so big, which we'll talk to you about in a minute, we didn't really want a biopsy at that stage. We didn't want a mammogram because he knew we had to be exposed to 40 chest x-rays, ionising radiation, so that's not something that you want on a tumour if it's cancerous. And so my sister, who's a doctor, who always says married to a doctor, family came en masse to drag me to hospital to kind of have this tumour removed and get me normal conventional treatment. But Phil said, well look, give us 3 months, see what we can do. And in the meantime, he found thermography. And thermography is completely the opposite to a mammogram. It's the other end of the spectrum to a mammogram. A mammogram is an anatomical test. So what they do, they fire radiation at the patient, at the breast, after clamping it in between 2 plates, squashing it down, and then they radiate it to see if they can see any lumps and bumps. I knew I had a lump because it was sticking out my chest, and there was just no way that you couldn't see it when I was standing up. So basically, said, well, go for thermography, because thermography isn't looking for lumps and bumps, it's looking for activity. And what I needed to know was this active? Was this an active tumour? Did it have angiogenesis around it? Phil's going to talk to you more about all this in a minute. Could we see that that was active, or was it just an encapsulated cyst, or something that wasn't harmful at that time? So I went actually down to Harley Street, because there wasn't anywhere else for me to go and get thermography at the time. And I had a thermogram, and it came back TH5, which is high risk for malignancy. And the doctor actually wrote in the report 96% certainty of this is cancer at this stage. So of course I kind of lost the plot and went into quite a deep depression, as you would expect. But Phil, all the way through this, was researching, and basically, I won't go into it all because I think a lot of stuff's already been said, and people can talk to me afterwards who want to know, but we treated it homeopathically. Phil got me to change my diet, cut out dairy, basically went vegan, and we did something which Phil probably talked to you about, called the Banachet protocol, but we didn't know at the time it was. It's scientifically proven that 4 homeopathic remedies cause apoptosis in breast cancer cells, and that's carcinosin, phytolacca, conium, and what was the other? Thuya. And sorry, and I've had 3 of these remedies plus another one called scarinum, which is actually breast cancer, what we call breast cancer nosode. And my tumour, with all of this stuff that I was doing, I had we had the house swept for radiation as well, so we got rid of things like Wi-Fi, we got rid of things like microwave vents, the phones that you carry around the house, you know, the box was radiating radiation up into 3 of our bedrooms, you know, and we had 2 kids. It's like, oh my God, we're getting radiated to death, not only with the Wi-Fi, but with the phones, you know. So we got rid of that sort of stuff. So now we do lots of things to protect, you know, we have wave walls on our phones, we don't have Wi-Fi in our clinic, and we don't have Wi-Fi at home anymore. We've got rid of everything, yeah. So anyway, the tumour started to shrink, and 6 months down the line, you could see all the angiogenesis has started to diminish, and I never had the tumour removed, and I'm still here 12 years later. And I love it because it was life-changing. And I truly believe that the tumour is the healing process, and it's the end stage of the pathology. And I think if you clean things up, if you get everything sorted, like emotionally, okay? So we didn't go to war with the body. It didn't feel right for us at the time. We didn't know it was going to work, but it did. So so basically that's my story. But hello, my lovely.
Great story.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is that correlation between the spirit and the body, like you said,
Absolutely.
the breast, the female, the family.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't understand that. They just think
No,
it's
they
body
don't.
and nutrition. And like you said, the stress factors that come
Yeah.
from, you know, not having equilibrium through the balance of life and other
Absolutely.
facets of your life. So that's an interesting point.
We spend most of our time living in the past, worrying about things that have happened to us and people. It takes all our energy, as Robert was saying before. It's, you know, we're an energy field, and that's what we pick up when we look at somebody thermographically. We see their energy, we see where things are becoming inflamed. It feels really good at explaining all of this. But the correlation with the breast is the breasts are the least important organ in the body, you know, especially for a woman. They're there to nurture babies. So it becomes a bit of a dumping ground for things. So you can imagine, can't you, especially women wearing bras and underwire bras, especially because that's acting, yeah, as a conductor to electromagnetic frequencies as well, and intensifying radiation to the breast area. You know, so that's the first thing if you've got breast problems or any cancer or anything, is to stop wearing underwire bras and go as much as you can without a bra, you know. But also it becomes an area where the body stores estrogen that it can't get rid of. And estrogen is women that are estrogen dominant, which is what we see in our imaging. We can tell. You can have a woman who's postmenopausal. Excuse what I'm going to say here, all you ladies here, but you'll know what I mean. Who are dried out here, but their breasts are still estrogen dominant, you know, and their body's not being able to get rid of it. And so these later on can become like tumours. So actually trying to get the estrogen levels right are really, really important. And avoiding things, you know, like parabens and using natural cosmetics and toiletries. You know that paraben, which mimics estrogen, is found in all cosmetics, and this is why so many men are getting prostate cancer themselves and tumours in all sorts of places. And this is why all the fish in the sea are turning into females, because we're all drinking the tap water that's got all the contraceptive pills in, it's got all the HRTs in, it's got all the other hormones, and we're taking these on board, and then they're filling all the animals full of hormones as well, so if we're eating those, we're getting fuller and fuller and fuller. So when we're looking at you demographically, and we're looking at your breast, we can see, you know, if there is too much estrogen there. And also with thermography, because we're not looking at lumps and bumps, we're looking at your thermal pattern. And your thermal pattern, your breast pattern, is unique to you. Okay? And it will have vascular patterns and things like that in, but it's these vascular patterns that can develop into tumours. Okay? So your thermal pattern, when we're looking at your breasts, should not change, and they only change in 3 instances. 1 is if you have a baby. 2 is if you have surgery to the breast, that will change it. Or the 3rd is if disease is starting to build up. So many years before a tumour is formed, a blood vessel will start to change in the breast, and we will see that. And it takes many years for a tumour to develop to 1 centimetre, on average about 8 years. So you've got plenty of time to turn it around. You know?
So when you go for this mammogram at 50, and they tell you that your breasts are, they say that at that age our breasts they're full of cysts.
Yeah.
Can those cysts actually turn into tumours?
Yeah, of course it can. Especially if you start messing with them and sticking needles in them.
Well, that's what I was asking online. I would have needles.
Or diet. Yeah. Yeah, but you can turn it all around. I mean, we've got these great pictures for it. I can't get this bloody thing working, you know, to show you before and after. You know, so our doctors actually report on our images. The main things that they get women to do is because women that get breast cancer are short on vitamin D3. Yeah. So getting your vitamin D3 levels checked for any cancer, they say you can reduce your chances of getting cancer by about 70% if you've got adequate levels. So Birmingham Hospital do a test for 28 quid. If you just go put into Google vitamin D test, you can get your vitamin D levels checked, you know, very, very quickly. They'll send you out a little kit and you just do a little thumb prick, yeah? And also the other thing is being short of iodine. Iodine is really brilliant for cleaning up the breasts. And it's a mineral that we're all very short in, because we used to get it in bread and various other things, and now taking that out and put bromide in, it's killing us all. Yeah, and the other thing is progesterone, bioidentical progesterone, if you've got a estrogen dominance in the breasts. And we see vascular patterns going from very, you know, hot areas and quite prominent veins to the whole thing dying down. In some cases, we can take a woman from TH5, which is high risk for malignancy, down to TH2 in 3 months. It's amazing. So why are we not doing this with all women? Why are we not using thermography?
So you mentioned taking from 5 to 2.
By cleaning up the diet, yeah, and stopping using things like all the toiletries, yeah, cutting down on the radiation you're being dealt with, checking and making sure your D3 levels are high, using iodine, depending, age 30 plus, maybe bioidentical progesterone. And we've got some protocols that we give to women that other women have used and things, and Phil, we treat people homeopathically, and you just see the breasts clean up. It's not rocket science. So why are we not doing thermography from age, from teens and finding a pattern there? Sorry, Mother.
Does that also, obviously if you've got breast cancer, then
yeah,
that kind of thing could have it. If you've got breast cancer that's secondary elsewhere,
yeah,
it is still breast cancer but somewhere else. Does that also still have the same?
We can't, nothing. A mammogram, nothing, no kind of imaging can confirm cancer. Only a biopsy.
But the thing
yeah, normally where there's things, there'll be inflammation.
Right.
Okay? But it depends how deep it is. It's like the things like black cell. I wouldn't ever advise anybody to black cell, but they had a very deep tumour. Although some people have done that successfully, but you can take black cell internally. Yeah? So what I'm going to pass over to Phil because I feel like I'm taking over here because he'll talk to you about different where to go. So start with thermography and then move up to the other sorts of imaging, leaving the ones that cause the most problem. You only use in life and death situations. So I'm going to pass over to him because Phil's also written feasibility studies for countries. He did all the research for this. He wrote the thing. He got in touch with everybody and interviewed all these top people. So, and I wouldn't be here without him. Yeah. Okay. So I'll pass you over to Phil anyway.